back in, everyone. Each year, millions of women and men are diagnosed with the disease called breast cancer, and the journey through treatment and recovery can both be challenging and inspiring. To shed light on her personal experience, we are joined by Miss Kristina Garcia, who is a brave survivor who's generously came on this morning to share her story. First of all, good morning, young lady. How you doing?
Good morning. It's nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, ma'am, of course. Thank you for coming on. So, Miss Kristina, can you walk the Arkansas region through that moment of when you got diagnosed and what was going through your mind at that moment?
Actually, I had to convince my physician that I had breast cancer.
Oh.
I'm a nurse, and so I had, done the little Google search for my symptoms, and I'd been battling with just a red mark on my breast for a couple of months. And after Googling my symptoms and having antibiotics and it didn't go away, I knew something was really wrong. So when I went to my doctor and said, hey, I think I have breast cancer and I need to get checked out, they dismissed me multiple times. So I really had to advocate for myself and say, I really feel like somebody needs to take me seriously. So when I finally got the call that my biopsy had come back with consistent with inflammatory carcinoma, it was just a relief that someone took my concern seriously, and now I could get on the right track for treatment and hopefully save my own life.
Yes, ma'am. So when you were in that phase right there of learning, like you said, to better save your life, how did that outlook change your life? With inflammatory breast cancer, it is detectable at stage 3. So that's the first that it's detectable, and a lot of women are misdiagnosed with mastitis because the symptoms don't appear like breast cancer with a mass or a lump. And so the same thing happened to me. I was misdiagnosed and I wasn't taken seriously for my concerns. So the survival rate 15 years ago when I was diagnosed was only 30%. So that diagnosis completely changed my outlook, because as a single mom, I have to start making end-of-life decisions. Yes, ma'am.
And my family had to face that, and that was, just an overwhelming sense of doom that I was not going to be there for the rest of my son's life, and my family was going to lose me. So the diagnosis changed everything.
Yes, ma'am. And speaking of that support system, I kind of want to pick up on that right there. I know everybody loves to have that emotional support there. And
you have to.
Yes, ma'am.
You absolutely have to. There's no way to make it through without that.
Yes, ma'am.
I had a community that rallied around me. I lived in Paradise, Texas, little tiny town, and the community rallied around me and mowed my lawn and brought me food and took me to my doctor's appointments and took my son to school. And without that support, and then also the support of people in the group, in a Facebook group that had inflammatory breast cancer, I needed hope more than anything that I was going to live. And that's the one thing that I clung to, is finding a survivor that had lived through what I was going through, and I clung to that. And here I am, 15 years later, living my best life.
Yes, ma'am. And now somebody can hopefully cling to your message that you're spreading and move that all the more forward. With that being said, what advice would you give to somebody that has been diagnosed with breast cancer that you would feel be beneficial?
Well, there's two bits. There's people that have not been diagnosed, and there's people that have been diagnosed. For those that have not been diagnosed yet, I would say continue to advocate for yourself. If you know something's wrong, continue to search those answers, have those hard questions, have those hard, conversations with your provider. For those that are diagnosed, reach out to survivors. You need that hope. That hope is going to give you every bit of strength that you need, and then make sure that you are, this was something that I
had a difficult time with. But make sure you're letting your family and your friends do things for you. I was a strong, independent woman, and I was like, no, I can do it, I can do it. They don't know how to connect with you.
Yes, ma'am.
And the only way that they feel like they can help is to do something for you. And so it's really important that you let them, because it's not just you, everybody's going through it.
Yes,
And that was my post-cancer realization, is that I had taken those moments away from my family where they felt that there was something they could do, and I said, no, you know, you don't have to. So definitely letting them be a part of your journey by doing something for you when they feel like, whether it's a meal, whether it's mowing your lawn, it helps everybody come together and have a purpose in your journey.
Yes, ma'am. You know what they say, it truly does take a village. And
It does.
That's one thing that you love to hear, that, you know, everybody does come together. We got one last thing for you before we get out of your hair. What advice would you, or excuse me, what message would you want to send to breast cancer patients out there, and what are you hoping that would move forward? What do you want to see moving forward with breast cancer?
You know, I've had 15 years to think about the difference between, you know, when I was doing the pink t-shirts and the pink, when my son played baseball, we did pink bands for breast cancer awareness.
Yes,
and, you know, I've had all these years to think about that. And even now today, when I see breast cancer awareness, I think about, we don't need awareness. We're already aware.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
already aware of
Yes,
breast
ma'am.
cancer. What we need is education. We
Yes,
need
ma'am.
more education. We need more, just like for inflammatory breast cancer that isn't detectable on a mammogram. You know, we're told over and over, get your mammogram, get your mammogram. But there is a form of breast cancer that isn't detectable. So it's education about knowing the symptoms, knowing what to look for, the courage to look, and to have those conversations with your provider, because even, you know, younger women get breast cancer, but they are embarrassed. They don't want to discuss their symptoms. And so by the time they actually do, it's already at a later stage and can be devastating. I mean, it can be deadly.
Yes, ma'am. I love that you said that, Ms. Garcia. That's perfectly put. Education, we're already aware. Just get the information out there.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Garcia, I want to thank you so much for your time. Your time is greatly appreciated. And
Thank you for having me.
yes, ma'am. Of course, you guys stick around. We'll be right